Hello everyone, welcome back to Talk Fluent. We're so happy you're here with us today. If you're learning English and you want to sound more natural in everyday conversations, you're in the right place. Today's episode is going to make a huge difference because we're talking about one of the most useful verbs in English, go, but we're not just talking about the verb itself. We're diving into 12 amazing phrasal verbs that Americans actually use every single day.
Hey everyone, it's great to have you with us again. I hear English learners say this all the time. I know the word go, but native speakers keep saying things like go on, go through, or go ahead, and I get confused. If that's happened to you, don't worry. You're definitely not alone.
Oh, I remember when I first started learning another language. I knew hundreds of words, but when native speakers started using expressions instead of simple vocabulary, I felt completely lost. That's why phrasal verbs are so important. They're everywhere in conversations, TV shows, movies, podcasts, and even at work.
Exactly, and here's the good news. Today's lesson isn't about memorizing a long list of definitions. Instead, we're going to learn these phrasal verbs the way Americans actually use them. We'll explain each one in simple English, use plenty of real-life examples, and even show you common mistakes to avoid.
By the end of this episode, you'll be able to understand these expressions when you hear them, and more importantly, you'll feel confident using them in your own conversations. That's the goal, not perfect English, but natural English.
Before we jump in, we'd love to hear from you. Which phrasal verb do you already know? Maybe it's go on or go back, or maybe this is your first time learning them. Let us know in the comments. We'd really love to see your answers.
And if you're enjoying these lessons and want more practical English that real people actually use, don't forget to like this episode, subscribe to Talk Fluent, and share it with a friend who's learning English too. Every new lesson is designed to help you speak with more confidence.
All right, grab a notebook if you'd like. Get ready to repeat after us, and let's jump into our first group of phrasal verbs.
Let's start with something really important. A phrasal verb is a verb plus another word, usually a preposition or an adverb. Together, they create a new meaning. So even though you already know the verb go, adding another word completely changes its meaning.
That's right, think of it like this. Subject plus phrasal verb plus object or complement. For example, I go through my emails every morning. Here, go through doesn't mean you're physically walking through your emails. It means to review or examine them carefully.
Let's learn our first phrasal verb. Go on. This one has several meanings, but the most common one is to continue. For example, the meeting went on for 2 hours. My favorite TV show is still going on. If you don't understand, please go on asking questions.
Here are a few more examples. We were tired, but we decided to go on. The teacher said, go on, tell us your story. The rain went on all afternoon. Can you hear how natural that sounds? Americans use go on all the time.
I use this one almost every day. Sometimes I'm studying and I feel tired after 30 minutes. Then I tell myself just go on for 10 more minutes. It sounds much more natural than saying continue.
Here's a quick question for everyone listening. Can you make your own sentence with go on? Maybe, I'll go on practicing English. Or, the movie went on longer than I expected. Pause for a second and say your sentence out loud.
Great, speaking out loud really helps your brain remember new expressions. Now let's move to our second phrasal verb. Go back. This one simply means to return. Examples. I need to go back home. Let's go back to the beginning. We should go back and check the answer.
Americans also use this expression when talking about the past. My friendship with Jake goes back to high school. That tradition goes back hundreds of years. Notice that go back doesn't always mean returning to a place. Sometimes it means returning to a time or memory.
That's a really useful point. If someone says, this recipe goes back to my grandmother, they don't mean the recipe walked anywhere. They mean it has existed in the family for a long time.
Let's try another one. Go out. Most learners think this only means leaving the house, but it has several common meanings. Examples, we're going out for dinner tonight. The lights went out during the storm. My friends are going out this weekend.
I love how flexible this one is. If someone says the lights went out, they're talking about electricity. If someone says we're going out, they're talking about social plans. The context tells you the meaning.
Here's a little practice. Which sentence sounds correct? A, I'm going out with my family tonight, or B, I'm going outside with my family tonight. Actually, both can be correct. If you're talking about having dinner or spending time together, Americans usually say, we're going out. If you literally mean stepping outside the house or building, then going outside is more specific.
Nice difference. Now let's learn another one. Go ahead. This one is incredibly common. It means you have permission or please continue. Examples, can I ask a question? Sure, go ahead. You can go ahead without me. If you're ready, go ahead and start.
Imagine you're in a meeting. Someone says, "Is it okay if I share my idea?" You reply, "Go ahead." That's polite, friendly, and very natural.
Here's something interesting. Instead of saying you have permission, Americans almost always say go ahead. It's shorter, warmer, and sounds much more conversational.
Can you answer this question? If your friend asks, "Can I borrow your pen?" Would you say, "Go ahead," or "Continue"? The answer is definitely go ahead.
Excellent. Now let's look at one more phrasal verb in this section. Go over this means to review or check something carefully. Examples: let's go over today's lesson. I went over my notes before the exam. My boss wants to go over the report.
This expression is everywhere at work and school. Teachers say, "Let's go over the homework." Managers say, "Let's go over the numbers." Students say, "I need to go over my vocabulary."
I actually use this before recording every episode. I go over my notes to make sure everything is clear. It helps me feel prepared and confident.
Now here's a small challenge for you. Can you make one sentence using go over? Write your answer in the comments. We'd love to read it.
Before we finish this section, let's talk about a common variation. Sometimes learners think every sentence with go needs another word. That's not true. For example, I go to work every day. That's just the regular verb go. But when you say, I go over my schedule every morning, now it's a phrasal verb because over changes the meaning.
Another important point is negative sentences. Instead of saying, "I go on studying," you can say, "I don't go on studying because I'm too tired," or "We didn't go ahead with the plan because the weather was terrible," or "I couldn't go back to sleep." Negative forms work exactly like other English verbs.
Let's finish with a quick review. Today we've learned go on, continue, go back, return, go out, leave home or spend time socially, go ahead, permission to continue, go over, review carefully. Try saying each one out loud 3 times. Repetition helps you remember them much faster.
Fantastic job! You've already learned 5 GO phrasal verbs that Americans use every day. Keep these expressions in your mind because we're about to build on them with even more useful meanings and real-life conversations in the next section.
We've already covered 5 incredibly useful GO phrasal verbs, and now it's time to build on that foundation. This next group is just as common, and you'll hear these expressions in conversations with friends, at work, while traveling, and even when you're watching your favorite TV shows. The more you hear them in context, the more natural they'll feel.
That's one of the best ways to learn English. Instead of memorizing long vocabulary lists, connect each expression to a real situation. When your brain remembers the situation, it also remembers the phrasal verb.
Exactly. Let's start with one that many learners hear but aren't always sure how to use. Geo through the most common meaning is to experience something, especially something difficult. It can also mean to examine or review something carefully depending on the context. For example, I went through a difficult year after changing jobs. She's going through a lot right now. We need to go through these documents before the meeting.
Notice how the meaning changes with the situation. If someone says, "I'm going through a stressful week," they're talking about an experience. But if your manager says, "Let's go through this report," they mean, "Let's review it together." That's why context is everything.
Here's a personal example. Before recording a new podcast episode, I always go through my notes one last time. But last year, I also went through a very busy season at work. Same phrasal verb, 2 completely different meanings.
Can you think of something you've gone through recently? Maybe you've gone through final exams. Maybe you've gone through a move to a new city. Or maybe you've gone through an exciting life change. Say your sentence out loud first, then write it in the comments. We'd love to read your examples.
Great job. Now let's learn another one. Go with this one usually means to match, to choose, or to accompany something. Here are a few examples. This blue shirt goes with my black jacket. I think I'll go with the chicken instead of the steak. Can you go with me to the dentist tomorrow?
Americans use this all the time when making decisions. Imagine you're at a restaurant. Your friend asks, "What are you ordering?" You might say, "I think I'll go with the cheeseburger." That sounds much more natural than saying, "I choose the cheeseburger."
It also comes up when talking about fashion. This tie goes with your suit. Those shoes don't go with that outfit. It's a simple way to say that 2 things look good together.
Let's compare formal and informal English. In a business meeting, someone might say, "I recommend the first proposal." That's perfectly fine. But in everyday conversation, you're much more likely to hear, "I'd go with the first one." It's shorter, friendlier, and very American.
Here's a quick practice activity. I'll give you a situation and you answer using go with. You're buying a new phone. Would you go with the cheaper model or the more expensive one? Say your answer out loud. There's no right or wrong choice. The goal is simply to practice the expression.
Excellent. Now let's move to another extremely common phrasal verb. Geo off this one has several meanings too. It can mean to ring, to explode, to stop liking something, or to spoil depending on the context. Examples. My alarm went off at 6 this morning. The fireworks went off at midnight. The milk has gone off. I've gone off coffee recently.
Context makes a huge difference here. If your alarm goes off, it starts ringing. If milk goes off, it isn't fresh anymore. If you've gone off a certain food, it means you don't enjoy it as much as you used to.
Here's a conversation you might hear. What woke you up? My alarm went off earlier than usual. Or, why aren't you drinking coffee? I've gone off coffee lately. Both sound completely natural.
Here's a helpful tip. Don't translate phrasal verbs word for word from your first language. Instead, learn them as complete expressions. Think of go off as one unit with several common meanings. That's much easier than trying to translate each word separately.
Now let's look at another one you'll hear almost every day. Go by. The most common meaning is time passes. For example, the weekend went by so fast. Has it really been 5 years? Time goes by quickly.
I think everyone can relate to that. Sometimes Monday feels slow, then suddenly it's Friday, you wonder where did the week go, time just goes by.
There's another meaning too. Go by can mean to use a particular name. For example, my full name is Christopher, but I go by Chris. She goes by Jenny instead of Jennifer. You'll hear this in introductions all the time.
That's especially useful if you're meeting new people. Someone might ask, what do you go by? They're simply asking what name you'd like people to call you.
Let's do a little dialogue. What's your full name? Maybe it's Alexander, but what do you go by? Alex, Xander, whatever your answer is, say it out loud. Then tell us in the comments if you have a nickname or a shorter name that people usually call you.
Wonderful, now let's put these expressions into a natural conversation. Imagine two friends talking after work. I went through a stressful day. I'm sorry to hear that. Let's go with the Italian restaurant tonight. Sounds good. My alarm didn't even go off this morning. No wonder you were late and somehow the whole day just went by. Doesn't that sound like real English?
Exactly. Native speakers don't usually think about grammar while they're talking. They simply use expressions they've heard thousands of times. That's why listening, repeating, and practicing are so important.
Before we finish this section, here are 3 quick tips. First, learn phrasal verbs in complete sentences instead of memorizing single definitions. Second, repeat every example aloud at least 3 times. Your mouth needs practice just as much as your brain. Third, use one new phrasal verb every day. Even one sentence a day can make a huge difference over time.
Here's today's challenge. Choose one of the 4 phrasal verbs we learned in this section, go through, go with, go off, or go by, and write your own sentence in the comments. Reading other learners' examples is also a great way to discover new ideas and remember these expressions.
You're making fantastic progress. We still have more phrasal verbs to explore, and in the next section we'll focus on everyday situations, natural pronunciation, and how to sound even more like a native speaker during real conversations.
Keep speaking out loud, don't worry about making mistakes, and remember that confidence grows every time you practice. Let's continue with our next group of phrasal verbs.
We've covered some of the most common phrasal verbs already, and now it's time to learn the final group. These are expressions you'll hear in everyday conversations, at work with family, and even while shopping or traveling. By the end of this section, you'll know all 12 phrasal verbs from today's lesson, and more importantly, you'll know how to use them naturally.
That's the key. Knowing the meaning is helpful, but being able to use these expressions without stopping to think is what makes your English sound fluent. So let's keep building your confidence.
Our next phrasal verb is for. One of the most common meanings is to choose something or to try to get something. Here are some examples. I'm going for the chocolate ice cream. She's going for a promotion at work. If you have a dream, go for it.
I absolutely love that last expression. Go for it is one of the most encouraging phrases in American English. Imagine your friend says, I'm thinking about applying for a new job. You could smile and say, go for it. That means I believe in you. Give it a try.
It can also mean choosing between different options. Your friend asks, what color do you want? You reply, I'll go for the blue one. That's much more natural than saying, I select the blue one.
Here's a little practice. You're ordering a drink at a cafe. Would you go for coffee, tea, or juice? Say your answer out loud. There isn't a wrong answer. The important thing is using go for naturally.
Excellent, now let's move on to go in. This one usually means to enter a place. Examples, go in and have a seat. I went in because it started raining. The doctor asked me to go in.
Pretty simple, right? But Americans also use go in expressions like, let's go in together, or I'll go in first. You'll hear this at restaurants, offices, theaters, and many other places.
Here's a quick conversation. Are you ready? Yes. Okay, let's go in. Short, simple, and very natural.
Now let's learn another one you'll hear very often. Go up. The most common meaning is to increase. Examples, gas prices went up again. My rent went up this year. The temperature is going up.
We also use go up for movement. The balloon went up into the sky. The elevator went up to the 10th floor. Again, context tells you the meaning.
Here's a practical tip. When talking about prices, salaries, temperatures, or numbers, Americans almost always say go up instead of using a more formal word like increase in casual conversations. For example, my internet bill went up. Sounds much more conversational than my internet bill increased.
Let's practice together. Repeat after me. My grocery bill went up. My English confidence is going up. My motivation goes up when I practice every day. Great job.
I especially like that second sentence. Your confidence really does go up every time you use English. Don't wait until you feel perfect. Practice first. Confidence comes later.
Our final phrasal verb today is go down. This is often the opposite of go up. It means to decrease or to move downward. Examples, prices went down. The sun is going down. My phone battery is going down.
We also use it when talking about popularity or performance. Sales went down last month. His stress level went down after the vacation. You'll hear this expression in everyday conversations, business meetings, and news reports.
Let's compare the two. The price went up. The price went down. The temperature went up. The temperature went down. Learning opposites together is a great memory trick because your brain naturally connects the ideas.
That's a fantastic strategy. Instead of learning one expression by itself, learn it with its opposite. It makes remembering much easier.
Now let's put all 4 of today's phrasal verbs into one realistic conversation. Imagine 2 friends shopping. What are you thinking of buying? I think I'll go for the blue jacket. Nice choice. Let's go in and try it on. Good idea. Wow, the price went up since last week. I know, maybe it'll go down during the holiday sale. That sounds like something you could actually hear in a shopping mall.
Here's another example from work. Did you apply for the manager position? Yes, I'm going for it. That's awesome. I hope my chances go up after today's interview. I'm sure you'll do great. Those are real expressions people use every day.
Let's talk about sounding more natural. One mistake learners often make is speaking every word with the same rhythm. Native speakers don't do that. Listen to this sentence. I'm going for it. The word going is usually softer. The stress falls naturally on for in it. The sentence flows together instead of sounding like separate words.
Here's another one. My alarm went off. Native speakers often connect the words. It sounds more like my alarm went off. Don't worry if you can't do that immediately. Just listening and repeating will gradually improve your pronunciation.
Let's try a mini speaking exercise. I'll say a situation, you answer with the best GO phrasal verb. Ready? You want to encourage your friend to chase a dream. What do you say? That's right. Go for it. Second situation. Your electricity suddenly stops working. What happened? The lights went out. Third situation. Your monthly expenses become higher. My expenses went up. Fourth situation. After a big sale at the store, prices become cheaper. The prices went down. Fantastic.
Here's one more challenge. Imagine you're talking to an American friend today. Can you naturally use at least 3 GO phrasal verbs from this episode? Maybe you could say, my alarm went off late, but I went ahead with my plans anyway. Then I went out for lunch. That's exactly how native speakers combine these expressions in real conversations.
We'd love to hear from you again. Which of the 12 GO phrasal verbs do you think you'll use first? Write one sentence in the comments using your favorite expression. Reading and writing your own examples is one of the fastest ways to remember new English.
Let's do one final review before we move on. Go for choose or try to achieve something. Go in, enter, go up, increase or move higher. Go down, decrease or move lower. Now you've learned all 12 GO phrasal verbs from today's lesson. In the next section, we'll look at some of the most common mistakes English learners make with these expressions, explain why they happen, and show you how to avoid them in real conversations.
We've covered all 12 GO phrasal verbs and you're doing an amazing job. Now let's talk about something every English learner experiences, making mistakes. Believe me, we've all been there. I still remember trying to translate expressions directly from another language, and the results were, well, pretty funny.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. The good news is that mistakes aren't a sign you're failing. They're actually proof that you're using the language. Every fluent English speaker has made plenty of mistakes along the way.
Exactly, so let's look at 4 common mistakes learners make with GO phrasal verbs and learn how to fix them. This is probably the most common mistake. A learner might think each word has its own meaning. For example, someone hears go through and imagines physically walking through something, but that's usually not what it means. Incorrect. I'm going through a difficult week by walking through it. Correct, I'm going through a difficult week. Here, go through means to experience something.
Here's another example. Incorrect. I went through my homework by walking through it. Correct. I went through my homework before class. Now it means to review or check carefully. Always learn the entire expression instead of translating each individual word.
That's such an important habit. Think of phrasal verbs as one piece of vocabulary rather than two separate words. This is probably the most common mistake. A learner might think each word has its own meaning. For example, someone hears go through and imagines physically walking through something, but that's usually not what it means. Incorrect. I'm going through a difficult week by walking through it. Correct. I'm going through a difficult week. Here, go through means to experience something.
Here's another example. Incorrect. I went through my homework by walking through it. Correct. I went through my homework before class. Now it means to review or check carefully. Always learn the entire expression instead of translating each individual word.
That's such an important habit. Think of phrasal verbs as one piece of vocabulary rather than two separate words. Here's another mistake. Learners sometimes think a phrasal verb always has only one meaning, but many of them have several. Take, go out. Incorrect understanding. It always means leaving the house. Actually, it can also mean spending time socially. Examples: we're going out for dinner. The lights went out. Those are completely different meanings.
The same happens with go by. Sometimes it means time passing. How did the weekend go by so fast? Other times it means using a certain name. I go by Mike, so don't memorize only one definition. Always pay attention to the sentence around it.
That's why reading, listening, and watching English every day is so valuable. The more context you see, the more natural these expressions become. This might be the biggest mistake of all. Some learners understand phrasal verbs perfectly, but they never use them because they're afraid of making mistakes.
Instead of saying, I'll go over my notes, they choose something much simpler because it feels safer. But here's the truth. You won't become comfortable using phrasal verbs until you actually use them.
Exactly, making one small mistake today is much better than never practicing at all. Every conversation teaches you something new. Every sentence makes you more confident.
Here's a fun example. Imagine someone says, I'm going for pizza tonight. And their friend replies, no, don't go for pizza, go for salad. There's nothing wrong with the grammar, maybe it's just healthy advice.
Or imagine someone saying, my coffee has gone off. Then their friend smells it and says, I think your coffee quit its job. Of course, that's not what gone off means. It simply means the coffee isn't fresh anymore. Little jokes like these can actually help you remember the real meaning.
Let's practice each mistake with a quick challenge. I'll say the incorrect sentence. You say the correct one out loud. Ready? My alarm went up. Correct. My alarm went off. The prices went off. Correct. The prices went up. I'll continue with your presentation. Natural conversation. I'll go ahead with your presentation. I'll review my notes. A more natural everyday version. I'll go over my notes.
Fantastic. If you got some of those wrong, don't worry at all. That's exactly why we're practicing together. Learning English isn't about being perfect. It's about improving one conversation at a time.
Keep listening, keep speaking, and keep trying these expressions in your daily life. The more you use them, the more automatic they'll become, and soon you'll notice yourself using phrasal verbs without even thinking about them.
Now it's time for one of our favorite parts of the episode, our Choose the Correct Sentence activity. Don't just listen. Say your answer out loud before we explain it. Speaking is what turns knowledge into real communication.
Situation number 1, you're at work and your manager says, please this report before the meeting. Option A, go over this report. Option B, go out this report. Which one sounds right? The correct answer is option A. We go over reports because we review them carefully.
Situation number 2, your friend says, I'm nervous about applying for my dream job. Option A, go for it. Option B, go buy it. Which would you say? That's right, go for it. It's a friendly and encouraging expression that native speakers use all the time.
Situation number 3, you wake up because your alarm starts ringing. Option A, my alarm went off. Option B, my alarm went back. The correct answer is my alarm went off. That's the natural expression Americans use.
Situation number 4, you studied your notes again before the exam. Option A, I went over my notes. Option B, I went out my notes. The correct answer is I went over my notes. That's the expression for reviewing something carefully.
Here's one more. Your friend asks, what are you ordering? Option A, I'll go with the chicken. Option B, I'll go through the chicken. The correct answer is I'll go with the chicken. That's how we naturally talk about making a choice.
Fantastic work. Now here's your challenge. Create 3 original sentences using any phrasal verbs from today's lesson. Say them out loud first, then write them in the comments. The more you create your own examples, the faster these expressions become part of your everyday English.
Remember, real conversations aren't about using difficult words. They're about communicating naturally and confidently. Every sentence you practice today makes tomorrow's conversation a little easier.
We covered a lot today, and you should be proud of yourself. You learned 12 phrasal verbs that Americans use in everyday conversations, along with practical examples, pronunciation tips, and common mistakes to avoid. These are expressions you'll hear everywhere, so the more you practice them, the more natural your English will sound.
Let's quickly review the 3 big ideas from today's lesson. First, many phrasal verbs have meanings that are different from the basic verb go, so always learn them as complete expressions. Second, context helps you understand the correct meaning because one phrasal verb can have several uses. Third, the best way to remember them is by speaking, listening, and using them in real conversations every day.
Don't worry if you can't remember all 12 immediately. Nobody becomes fluent overnight. Keep practicing a few at a time, repeat the examples you heard today, and challenge yourself to use at least one new phrasal verb every single day. Small, consistent practice leads to big improvements.
Before we finish, here's a question for you. Which phrasal verb do you think you'll use first in your next English conversation, and why? We'd really enjoy reading your answers and helping you if you have any questions.
If you enjoyed learning with us today, please give this episode a like, share it with another English learner, and subscribe to Talk Fluent so you never miss a new lesson. Also, don't forget to leave your favorite phrasal verb and your own example sentence in the comments. We read as many comments as we can, and they're a great way to practice your English.
Thanks so much for spending your time with us today. Keep practicing, keep believing in yourself, and remember that every conversation is another step toward fluency. Stay curious, keep speaking English every chance you get, and we'll be here to help you along the way. See you next time.